On today's show, Radio Voice Doug Plagens joins the show to recap the round that was for the Florida Panthers against the Tampa Bay Lightning, some unsung heroes, the final 5-on-5 stats that had the Panthers become victorious, and the economical impact of 3 straight seasons in the second round.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now I am pleased to welcome in on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Usually during the postseason, what we have done in the past, we have done a mid-series check-in throughout the Panthers playoff runs. But a little bit different this time around, as the check-in has come with the Panthers completing the series early with defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning in 5 games. So now, got to change things up a little bit this time around in his appearance here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. He is the radio voice of the Florida Panthers, Doug Plagens. Doug, very thankful to have you back on the show to just talk about the series as a whole of the Florida Panthers, which now is 3 seasons in a row that they're making the second round. So welcome back, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me. And it was a fun series. Great to get it done in 5 games. And now we sit and wait for the second round opponent. It's going to be a team that the Panthers beat in the playoffs last year. Either way, it's going to be Boston or Toronto in round 2. So it's going to be a fun one, no doubt about it. But at the time of this recording right now, Boston's in the driver's seat in that series. We'll see how things play out.
Yeah, and like you said, as we're recording this, the games have not started for Tuesday night for the NHL, so we won't know by the time this drops if Boston clinches the series in 5 or if Toronto will forces a Game 6 back in Scotiabank Arena. But let's go based on your point that you just talked about now for who the Panthers could be facing up against too. I know that if we were to have a normal 1 through 8, and if you were to have division winners getting the top 2, in this instance, you would still see a lot of the same matchups that you would see in the divisional format that we do have with the top 3 and the 2 wild cards. But this is exactly what the excitement of a first round does for the NHL, not just the Florida Panthers, but the NHL, where you've seen 3 out of 4 years with the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and now you're seeing another rematch for them against one of these 2 teams. How great is it for just building something with, even though geographically they're in different locations, but seeing how one region is with 2 original 6 teams, and now with a non-traditional market in Florida getting so much success.
Well, I'm not telling anybody anything they haven't heard before, but for a rivalry to truly become a rivalry, they always say the 2 teams need to play in the playoffs. And we've seen that develop over time with the Panthers and the Lightning. We can get to more on that in just a moment, but that's what this system is designed to do. It's designed to cultivate rivalries. It's designed to feed rivalries. And now there's going to be a rivalry that's going to get even stronger, whether it's the Leafs or the Boston Bruins, who the Panthers play in round 2. And then you had the fact that the Panthers just ousted the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that they hadn't beaten in the playoffs before. So that was a big series to finish off, and a big series to finish off in 5 games for a number of different reasons for the Panthers now as they look ahead to this next round. But in mentioning the series with the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think getting by the Tampa Bay Lightning in and of itself, that was a big obstacle that had been in the Panthers' way in years past. So to be able to bump off the Lightning, that was a big one to get. To be able to knock off Andrei Vasilevsky, that was also big. So you had those couple of factors. It's a rivalry matchup, a lot of respect between the 2 teams. Aaron Ekblad said during one of his media availabilities early in the series, maybe even right before the series, that the Lightning, and it's true, had been really the benchmark for success in the National Hockey League the last handful of years. They went to 3 Cup finals. They won 2 Stanley Cups. A lot of folks forget that they went to a Cup final back in 2015, and that was kind of when this thing was getting rolling early in John Cooper's tenure, and Stamkos was there, and Vasilevsky was a rookie, and he was there, and Hedman was there, and they've had the cornerstone pieces that have come in along the way. So they've been one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league over the last decade or so. It's been quite a run of success for them, but they're still at the top of their game. That was still a really good opponent. And usually when you win a division, your reward in round one is to play somebody maybe a little lighter on you than this version of the Tampa Bay Lightning is. That's a heck of a hockey team over there, not your usual wild card team. In the last 41 games, the Panthers and the Lightning records were very, very similar. Tampa Bay was getting stronger as the season went on. So that was a big win for the Panthers to get as a team. And anytime you advance past the first round, it's big. The other thing there, big to get it done in 5, because there's a chance that Boston could win their series in 5. It allows the Panthers a chance to kind of stay on the same or better rest schedule than their second round opponent will, and just to start to get things in the planning stages for that next round, get everybody rested up as much as they can. Big series to win and big to get it done in 5 games for a number of reasons, plus the fact that they won it in 5 games in front of the home fans. 19,750 on hand for the Game 5 clincher, over 19,000 for all those playoff games. It was 19,000 routinely all the way down the stretch in the regular season. We loved seeing it every single night. We loved hearing it every single night. And again, to be able to get that first round series clinched on home ice in front of all the great Panthers fans in an electric building like that, that made it all the more special.
Yeah, and seeing that you get it done early. Yeah, they saw a series clincher in the Eastern Conference Final against Carolina back last season, but you think about last year where first and second round were on the road. But for the Panthers, just the fact that they got it done and early too. Last year we were talking. Well, we didn't find out about this after the fact in the postseason about all the injuries that they suffered even in round 1 for the Panthers. Aaron Ekblad with the fractured foot, Sam Bennett, which Paul Maurice spoke about how he fractured his and didn't even tell anybody. But for the Panthers, getting this done in 5 games, a week's full of rest, we still don't know when a possible game 1 would be. But also the fact that there was a lot of hitting. I know Paul Maurice didn't really make much of the hitting too, but the fact that it didn't wear the Panthers out. They were still able to get a +4 goal differential at 5-on-5. The final numbers of that is 11-7. I mean, even in the goal differential on special teams, you give up 1 shorthanded goal in game 4, but you make up a shorthanded goal yourself in game number 5 for the clincher. And when you get 3 power plays of your own and the goal differential on special teams is only -1, you're still finding a way to contain the superstars of Tampa Bay. I mean, the frustration that Florida kept having on Nikita Kucherov. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning had more shot attempts in this series, but Panthers were just committed to stick to their game of shot blocking, getting in the shooting lanes, which they were having the more shots on actual shots on goal at 5-on-5 with the amount of pressure and quick outs. And Kucherov, no goals. Last year, Austin Matthews, no goals in a series against the Florida Panthers. What does that say about this system that the Panthers have when it comes to just eliminating stars?
Well, a couple things. First and foremost, the system that Paul Maurice has put in place here it's a great playoff style, and it's worked. And again, the job he's done has just been outstanding. And then the roster that Bill Zito and the hockey operations department have put in place, it's one of the deepest rosters in the National Hockey League. Paul Maurice has said that this team right now, they're deeper at this time now than they were at this time 1 year ago. And 1 year ago, that was a team that got to a cup final. So they are very equipped to make a deep run. But all the things that made this Panthers team a 52-win division champion in the regular season are what made them successful in round 1. The Panthers were good at home and good on the road, and they were able to win all 3 of their home games and pick off 1 in Tampa, get the series done in 5. The Panthers, during the regular season, they were a +5-on-5 goal differential team. Tampa Bay was not a +5-on-5 goal differential team. Those are the things that stick out to me when I'm looking at who's the real deal and who's poised to make a run. Are you good on the road? If you're good on the road, you're not reliant on the matchups, and you're probably deep. Also means you can probably win at home. And are you good? Are you on the plus side at 5-on-5? Because if you're on the plus side at 5-on-5, it means you can win games without having a bunch of power plays. If a game just does, if you don't get the calls one night, or if there's a night where there just aren't power plays handed out, then you're still going to have a good chance to win. This Panthers team was a +5 on 5 team. They were a good road team. So to me, those are the big things that stand out during the regular season. And when I see those during the regular season, that's how I determine who I believe is going to be a true contender come playoff time. The Panthers checked those boxes. But during the regular season, they got consistent goaltending. They defended well. They're deep. This Panthers team has a fifth line that's not dressing on a given night that would be in the lineup for a lot of teams. But that's important for this team to have. We saw Steven Lawrence came in, scored a big goal during the series. And he had, before he played a game in this series, he had played 16 Stanley Cup playoff games in his career. So this wasn't a situation that was, something he was unfamiliar with. Kyle Oposo comes into the lineup. What a luxury to have a guy who's been a captain, who's played over 1,000 games in the league, to be able to just slot into your lineup. That's going to be a boost for a team when you plug in a guy like that, a respected veteran. So this team is very equipped, and everything that made them successful during the regular season is what made them successful during that first round playoff series. And going into this series, I felt like it going in. The longer it stayed 5 on 5, I thought the Panthers' speed would wear down the Tampa Bay Lightning. Top to bottom, they're a faster team right now than the Tampa Bay Lightning are, and that started to show. Tampa Bay got a boost in personnel and a boost emotionally when Sergachev came back. And to me, too, that was something else we can't overlook from the series. I was watching that game on February 7th on national TV when he had that injury. It was very difficult to watch on TV. You never like to see that happen. When the playoffs come around, you want to see the best players against the best players. Hats off to him. It was admirable to see him gut it out and get back on the ice earlier than probably anybody would have thought that he would have. But again, so that was a big moment from the series. But I think if we have to look back at a turning point too, I know it's easy to say, but the save on Matt Dumba in game 2 that Sergei Bobrovsky made, one of the best displays of acrobatics and gymnastics in a goal crease that I think any of us have ever seen, that was hugely instrumental, considering not just the save and the way it looked, but it happened in a playoff game, in a tie game. Armando, if that puck goes in the net, there might still be a series going on right now. It was that close of a game and that big of a save when that happened. That could have been the difference maker. Tampa Bay could have wound up winning that game by 1 goal had that puck gone in the net. So it comes down to big plays here and there. And that was maybe the biggest. That was one of the true turning points of the series. But again, long-winded answer to what worked well for the Panthers. But I think it was things during the regular season that helped make this Panthers team a division champion. They were able to implement that into the 5-game series with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's ultimately what helped them come out on top. And you throw in some big plays along the way, such as that save, and that's going to be the recipe and the formula.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit available only to U.S. customers. Also, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. And Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off or puck drop if you're a hockey fan. So you could save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference with their lowest price guarantee. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Yeah, and different moments that the Panthers had. You just mentioned Bobrovsky save on Dumba in Game 2. Also, the Panthers having 0 power plays in Game 3 and having to deal with a little bit of that adversity for the 5-on-5 on the road as far as goal differential, +2 for the Panthers. So even 5 goals not on 5-on-5 on Game 4, the Panthers still won that battle in that department for them. But also, not a single Panther was in the minus category for as far as plus minus too. So that's another thing that reflects the play for the Panthers. I mean, Gustav Forsling continued his plus 50 whatever it was in the regular season. He was +5 in this series. Carter Verhaeghe +7 too, 5 goals in the series too. So just an impressive effort. And also Verhaeghe talking about Barkov and just the example that he sets. Yeah, he didn't get his goals until Game 4, but also continuing the conversation after Game 1 was him taking over and being the defensive wizard that he is. That it just continues to show different examples of the play on the ice and being and committed to back checking and just winning your individual battles to create more chances off the forecheck too. And also
a couple of guys who deserve mention there. Anton Lundell and Kevin Stenlund both saw increased responsibilities during the series with Sam Bennett being out. Both are key parts of the penalty kill. Both made big plays at different times, and both were really, really good in the faceoff circle. And the other thing is faceoff stats, maybe even more important than the actual percentage itself, is the timeliness of face-off wins, winning big draws at big times. Bill Lindsay and I talked about it specifically in Game 3 and 4. A big theme in those games, the ones in Tampa, the Panthers were winning the draws to start those penalty kills much more often than not, and they were getting clears as a result. And when you can win that first draw on the penalty kill, rather than losing a draw in your own zone and then allowing a team like Tampa Bay to set up the way they want to, it drastically changes things. And that's where those guys came in, and they were outstanding.
Yeah, and then a lot of times on the penalty kill while the Panthers were on the kill, Aaron Ekblad even spoke about after Game 3 about that's something that they look forward to. That it's kind of something that gets them a little giddy to even go on the kill and even have that challenge for them. But look at the final numbers as far as power play for the Tampa Bay Lightning. 4 of 20, which is 8.6% below their season average. Their PK 6.4% below their season average too. I know we're comparing an 82 game sample size to a 5 game sample size here, but still, when you eliminate that part of their game of what they do well, you're giving yourself an advantage so much throughout the series. And I mean, it was just a matter of closing it out when they needed to. And I mean, even after post game, the calmness of the group, even before going into the third period, because there wasn't in the beginning of that third period in Game 5, it wasn't really the Panthers too much on the attack until later. But then we really saw it blow open. So that's another thing when it comes to just how relaxed this group is.
Yeah, they're really poised. You can tell they learned a lot in that regard on last year's playoff run. But it illustrates more on that point about why you want to be successful at 5-on-5. There might be nights where you just don't get those power play opportunities, but you're still going to be able to have a good chance to win the game and generate offense. And you mentioned Tampa Bay, their power play percentage, they're pretty power play reliant, and their power play percentage dipped in the series. Generally, that's going to happen because when you get to the playoffs, you're no longer playing against the non-playoff teams. And
Mhm.
when you're playing in the playoffs, you're playing against the best rosters. The best rosters, a lot of times, are going to have good penalty kill units that they're able to throw out shift to shift. It's going to be more difficult. That's why, again, you look at Andre Vasilevsky's career numbers. I believe even after last night, he's played something like 113 playoff games or something like that. His career playoff save percentage and goals against average are better than his career regular season save percentage and goals against average. And that's not a small sample size that we're comparing it
Not at
to.
all.
And again, in the playoffs, you're playing against good teams. And as the playoffs go on, you're no longer playing against good teams. You're playing against the good teams, the better teams, and the great teams as you get deeper into the playoffs. So again, that was a big win for the Panthers to be able to not only get by the Lightning, but get by Andre Vasilevsky in that series.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. And all right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there is so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you can work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to compete albums for big prizes. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vault. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something new to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on the Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Yeah, better teams, but also more disciplined teams. You're seeing less stick infractions the later rounds you go for them, and thankfully for the Panthers, when they did go to the box quite a bit, especially in game 4, it was just an outlier as far as in this series when it came to the PK percentage being where it is for them. So they were able to continuously weather the storm, and also just for them just eliminate the anyone really not named Steven Stamkos. And you even had a game where I know you mentioned Steven Lawrence and Kyle Okposo. You had a game where Tampa Bay scored from the fourth line, and then the Panthers immediately respond. It was like always finding a counterpunch to what the other did. And again, I said this on my post game yesterday. Every single game in which the team scored first found themselves as the winner here. So and there's a reason why we ask these players during our media scrums, why is it important to get off to that good start? Because you're not playing a desperate style of game and trying to force things. You're not making aggressive pinches in your offensive zone neither. So as important as it is, the Panthers, more often than not, 4 out of those 5 times they were able to get the first goal of the game.
Yeah, the team that scored first won every game in that series. So and that's going to be, I mean, that's, again, it's not the be all end all. And when you have good teams are more able to come back in games. But it's nice to have that 1 goal cushion and a chance to get your game asserted. And also when you're the home team, you get that first one, and there's just a different buzz that gets created in the building when you get a lead, especially if you're able to get that lead early.
Yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned how it's not the be-all, end-all. Nico Mikkola specifically spoke about that even before Game 5 and said we're gonna even if he said that even if we give up a goal, that we are going to be a group that is very composed and for them. So I think that's a really good mindset for someone like him and the rest of the group. And it's just the message that just around the room of hey, it's a team that's been here before, and even the newcomers in this franchise, who Evan Rodriguez, yeah, he's played with superstars, McKinnon, and Crosby. You had Nico Mikkola who's played in the playoffs too with St. Louis and New York too. So it's not now you're seeing that with the signings of Bill Zito, you're seeing the vision of what he wants to put forward, because there are lessons learned along the way. Lessons learned from 2022, making the trade and the coaching change. Last year with the Stanley Cup final getting bigger for them. It's a lot of lessons learned, and it's truly manifesting in this, at least in this part. Still only one round completed, still a lot, but we're kind of seeing a little bit of the fruits of the labor.
It's a big box to check. It is only one round, but you got to win 4 rounds to win the whole thing, and that was one to get. You got to get all 4 of them. So that was a big box to check out of the gate. No
doubt. And also when it comes to team success for the Panthers, it's not just about winning a championship for these individual players, front offices, but also just the economical impact that it does for the region too, for South Florida. We spoke about it. It's been something that thankfully we've been harping on now for the last 4 years about what winning has been doing for the Panthers. I mean, the 2021 season was, now looking back at it, hindsight, I never realized at that time how much of an impact that the building blocks of that was really going into like a different direction for the Panthers in a positive way. But even Matthew Caldwell spoke on the Front Office Sports podcast and spoke about what winning does to the brand, strong correlation in attendance that was 9th in the NHL, and also corporate sponsors being involved with them, like Amerant Bank for the arena. SeatGeek, I know you said you have a lot of those ads with SeatGeek too, with the Florida Panthers too, and then using that money that Matthew Caldwell spoke about reinvesting it in the franchise, like sound system, concourse area too. It's just like for me when I get a reinvestment of dividends, what do? I put them back to make some more for me personally. But the Florida Panthers are also doing that too in their kind of success too. And that's something that I think is really positive for the community. You talk about the practice facility, and Matthew Caldwell emphasized too youth hockey in the region. And now they still have an influence in Coral Springs. Spoke about the 5 sheets of ice now that they have in the region of just growing the game. It's really living up to the whole Everglades to the beaches that management is trying to emphasize, and winning is definitely a big part of that.
Well, we can't say enough about from so many different angles, all the different events we've seen over the years, going back to the Cup final and the All-Star festivities last year. And of course, these last few seasons, now the Panthers have been to the second round at least 3 straight years now. And we've seen the buzz develop across the community. You mentioned the practice facility, and over at the Baptist Health Iceplex at the FTL War Memorial. If you haven't seen it yet, everybody should go check it out, because it's a great state-of-the-art place for the team to practice, but it's also going to be a great resource for the community and a place a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun. So definitely go check that out, whether it's a Panthers practice, grabbing something to eat, what have you. But it's an awesome place to be. Go check that out if you haven't. And then, like I said, I'd love to individually thank the 19,750 who are on hand for Game 5. And that's been routine throughout this whole season. 19,000 people in the building, the lower bowl season tickets being sold out, before the season, things like that. It just speaks to the overall buzz here. And again, we hear it all the time from our players. We hear it from, visiting media. We hear it from visiting teams. The atmosphere inside Amerant Bank Arena is as electric as anywhere in the National Hockey League. Everybody who comes out to support this team, whether you went to one game or all the games, deserves a huge thank you for that, because every one of you are part of it. And again, we couldn't do it without the support from everybody. But again, it's just been great to see everything that this organization's been able to do and will continue to do, and to see the buzz throughout the community. And again, it all goes back to what I was saying earlier. To be able to get that Game 5 win, to punch a ticket to round 2 in front of the home fans, the fans deserve that one. So it was really just made it that much more exciting.
Yeah, and also one thing to note for the practice facility, the Federal is now open, the restaurant upstairs too. And also for Panther fans out there, even if you're not able to go to the game, you can skate and watch the game at the Baptist Health Iceplex too, if you have that opportunity. So that is more of the community engagement. Also, one last thing, Matthew Caldwell said that 90% of the season ticket holders have renewed their tickets for next year. So like I always say, winning cures a lot of things, especially when we've seen what this franchise was prior to the Viola family coming
also
in.
Means if you don't have your season tickets for next year, you better get on that very quickly, because they are going, and you want to make sure you head over to floridapanthers.com and get all the info there.
Yep. Good for you for getting that plug in there for season tickets there. Hey, doing your job as the team employee, Doug. But I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, a post-series check-in with you, my friend here. I know we don't have a schedule for game one of the next round for the Florida Panthers, but thankfully for you, now all the local coverage is now you and Billy Lindsay, as Billy Lindsay will be joining you for now home and road games. So even though we don't have a set schedule yet, tell everybody where they can follow you and your work online, my friend.
Yeah, first and foremost, just keep checking floridapanthers.com, because all the scheduling info will be available there as soon as it becomes available, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Again, at the time that we're doing this, Armando, we could know in about 7 or so hours who the Panthers are playing in round 2 if the Boston Bruins beat the Toronto Maple Leafs this evening. But again, we'll wait and see on that. floridapanthers.com, get all your information there. I always tweet from my personal handle at Doug Plagens every single game day. Usually early in the morning, 8, 9 o'clock, I send a tweet out with all the different places you can hear that evening's game. So be sure to be on the lookout for that as well. And we'll have you covered from all angles, and of course on our team podcast, Territory Talk, as well. So again, keep checking floridapanthers.com. We'll have all the information there. And once we get into round 2, again, we invite everybody to listen in. And if you'd like to sync us up with the national TV broadcast, pause your TV at a whistle and hit play when you hear that same whistle on the radio, and you'll have it all synced up. I try to be pretty explicit as well when the puck drops. So maybe that's another point of reference people could use in trying to sync it up, is the time of the face-off. But the whistle's usually your best bet, the old whistle trick.
Hey, it has one unique sound, so it really helps as far as syncing the broadcast with the national, so they can get their Florida Panthers perspective of things. But Doug, thank you so much, and hope to see you again very soon.
Hope to see you again very soon, because that would mean that this playoff run is still going on. So again, hope to see you again very soon. We'll be checking in with you throughout the playoffs.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Doug Plagens, and you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.